Can plasma remove CO₂? Let's talk about it. Two practical things, one kind of duh and one pretty cool. Hello, my name is Greg Friedman. I'm a bioengineer focused on research in plasma chemistry. And in this channel, I like to chat to you about different science topics, very much including plasmas. So let's talk about, can plasma remove CO₂? Remove? Not really, but you can use CO₂ to create very useful things. First, you need to separate it out, like if you're talking about CO₂ in air, somehow you need to concentrate it. And then there are two very practical things you can do with it. First of all, you can mix CO₂ with something containing hydrogen, like natural gas, for example, and you can react both in plasma, separating CO₂ into carbon monoxide, and that can react with methane, you can produce hydrogen from methane and CO from CO₂, and then you have what's called syngas. And syngas can be catalytically reacted to produce various interesting chemistries. So it's widely used in the chemical industry, the syngas is, for production of different fluids, fuels, and that kind of stuff. You can also react CO₂ with water, producing alcohols, methanol, methane, other chemicals. So you can actually make vodka from CO₂. And it's funny, if you look at the price of production of vodka, ethyl alcohol and water, ethanol, the price of chemically producing it is much cheaper than using electricity to produce it. However, there is a company out there that sells plasma-produced vodka at a very premium price, and it sells it to rich people because it offsets their carbon footprint. Kind of a cool idea. So those are the two practical things you could use plasma for to remove CO₂. It's not really removing CO₂, it's using CO₂, or carbon dioxide, as a precursor to produce different useful and interesting chemistries. You can also use CO₂ as the plasma gas. First of all, if you want to incorporate carbon-oxygen bonds into the metal surface, for example, you can use CO₂ as your plasma gas. Or if you just want to, I don't know, you can use it for welding. Probably oxygen, not a very good idea in that case, but you can use CO₂ as the plasma generating gas. But the coolest thing that is not just theoretically, but practically possible, we've demonstrated it in a lab, you can take CO₂ and react it with itself, producing what's called carbon suboxides, like C₃O₂. This is this yellowish-brownish powder. And you could use C₃O₂ as a building material, as filler for soils instead of sand. It polymerizes, so you can use it in many different interesting industrial applications. And you can literally take exhaust of a diesel engine and use that to produce a product that's usable. You know, I was surprised when I found out one of the bigger CO₂ emitters inside of a major metropolitan city. Did you know? I didn't. Diesel generators. So if you have a hospital, you need to have backup power. You have a diesel generator generating that backup power, smack in the middle of a major metropolitan. Like in Philadelphia, all the hospitals are right downtown. So the biggest CO₂ emitters, university hospitals, universities themselves running these big diesel generators. And imagine you could take a trailer-sized system, put it next to the generator, and produce this valuable product that you can sell. It's It's not a pipe dream. This has been demonstrated in the lab, but it's pretty difficult to scale up these applications, and it's quite challenging to make them commercially viable. But just like an example of vodka marketing, perhaps marketing could help us, or regulatory if CO₂ regulation becomes very strong. We actually created, during pandemic, we created a nonprofit where we were trying to advocate not stopping industrial process, but instead emitting. Emit all you want, but let us control it. Let us put a system on top of your emission stack, separate out CO₂, and produce some valuable products from it. Alcohols, fuels, or even soil additive like the carbon suboxide. So anyway, I hope this answers the question. If plasma can remove CO₂, it can help synthesize things from it, which is kind of cool. Anyway, love answering these questions. See you in the next one. Peace.